It's about 2 months into the life of Ultimate, and already we've had 3 different characters that are commonly thought of among top players as the best. Those 3 being Pikachu, Inkling, and Peach. Yet of those 3 characters, none of them have won a major event in any region. Now this obviously doesn't mean any of these characters are bad, but what makes a character not just good, but the best? My name is Kelkador, and this is what goes into a tier list. The first concept I'd like to talk about is the most easily tangible. If a player does great with a character against many other strong players, it's very easy to reason that the character they are using might be good. However, there's a reason this isn't our only metric for a character's placement, as Armada puts it.
Like if you take Smash 4 for example, like a player like Nairo or Zero can pick up players in the top 100 playing bad characters, simply because they're that much better.
And he's right. Every once in a while comes a player so dominant, they make their character look unstoppable simply because there's no one good enough to challenge them. Zero in Smash 4 is the obvious example. He for the most part carried Diddy Kong in top level tournament results, and after his retirement from competing in that game, Diddy Kong's results have simply not been the same. In addition, DLC characters certainly were able to expose some weaknesses of Diddy, as no matter how often you win neutral, this can happen.
Put the screws to, oh my lord, is this how it is? Oh my god! It is over!
Now imagine a character that's quick, has great frame data, decimates shields, and kills easily with only a few weaknesses. What I have described to you is what many pros agree is the worst fighter in Smash Ultimate. You can make any character sound good if you don't talk about their weaker side. For example, having access to a suicide throw option sounds pretty good. Unfortunately, it can be outplayed with one button. In my opinion, the more options an opponent has to deal with the move, the worse the move is. This is why Jigglypuff's back air is a great option in Melee, as there's simply not a lot of ways to retaliate. And I just want to iterate that weaknesses don't necessarily mean the presence of a detrimental trait such as self-damage and low weight. It could also mean the absence of a benefit such as having high range. At the end of the day, it's all comparative. And even if a fighter's weaknesses are minimal, if that weakness is I can only play less than half the game, that fighter isn't going to be viewed favorably by the best players, no matter how dominant their strengths are. If you're playing seriously, the reason you pick a character is because you think you can take advantage of their strengths. It's as simple as that. Something interesting about tier lists is that just because a character is 2 or even 10 placements below another, that doesn't mean the character is all around worse. In Brawl, Ike had a pretty decent matchup spread against relevant characters, but because he got destroyed by the relevant character, his placement doesn't look impressive at all. Speaking of metas, meta is a very important aspect of judging how relevant the strength is. In a hypothetical scenario, you could have incredible rushdown, but if defensive play is rewarded more, that rushdown means a lot less. Before I get off the topic of strength, there's one aspect of it that's not really evaluated by tier lists, and that's the strength of a character not versus another character, but versus another player. For example, there's a guy in my region who hates heavy characters, but by his own admission it's because he sucks at the matchup. Being bad or unfamiliar with a matchup is a real factor, as your opponent probably isn't a bunch of ones and zeros calculating the right option. Here's me pulling off a 0 to death with ice climbers in Smash Ultimate. Now here's me pulling off a 0 to death with ice climbers in Melee. kind of a big difference, right? I know they're vastly different games and as such have different environments to consider, but they both have the same prerequisites of get a grab with Nana nearby. I'm not saying one game is harder than the other, but in this situation you can see what is more easy to execute. This is important to consider as nobody can play perfectly all the time. Leffen, contrary to popular belief, does think that Fox is the best character in Melee, if it were played by robots. However, he believes on a level that is actually humanly possible that Jigglypuff is the best. Now you think a good enough player would come around to reach the level of perfect Fox play, but where do we stop considering things as possible? This is a very hard line to draw, and while we can agree no human can achieve task levels of perfection, where do we stop before then? So those are the 5 pillars that I believe make up a tier list. If you disagree, let me know. Any criticisms with anything, let me know. Still trying to figure out what I want to do with this channel. Thank you for watching to the end. I'm going to be streaming twitch.tv/Kelkador, me playing Xenoblade soon, so watch out for that. Follow me at twitter.com/Kelkador, and subscribe if you want. I mean, it's optional. In any case, more Smash Brothers and Nintendo content is coming soon, so stick around.